Well, thank you so much for staying with us. And we are the Anthony Petitti Organic Greenhouse. And I am Cindy Petitti with you every Saturday morning right here on the Light 95.9, answering gardening questions and talking to you about growing your own gardens and things that we can do in our landscapes and in our lawns and our gardens organically. If you have questions that you would like us to answer, please give us a call at 330-455-5997, or you can email me your questions with photos, as always helpful, at cindypetitti@gmail.com. That's CINDYPETITTI@gmail.com. Or better yet, bring your questions to us right at the store at 5828 Columbus Road, right there on the corner of Columbus Road and Broadway in Nimishillen Township. We do have a Louisville address, a Canton telephone number. So we are on the west side of Louisville, the east side of Canton. And if you don't know east from west, get out a map. It's time to learn. The sun rises in the east, sets in the west. It's going to be pretty easy for you. But we are answering questions today and talking to you about issues that we are having in the garden. And so several of you have been dealing with these issues, and hopefully we're helping you. We have always have questions about pruning. If I have said this once, I've said it 100 times. There's a couple good rules of thumb to follow when you're trimming your shrubbery. If it is an evergreen and it does not bloom, you can really trim it any time that it is not too hot for you to be outside in a t-shirt and it's not too cold for you to be outside in a jacket. You don't want to trim when it's 95 degrees. It's going to stress you. It's going to also stress your plant. You also don't want to be trimming your shrubs when you're outside and a light pair of gloves and a jacket isn't going to keep you warm, because that's going to stress your plant too in most cases. So when it's below 35 degrees, don't be pruning shrubs. And when it's above 80, 85 degrees, probably not a great time to trim your shrubs. For all of your flowering plants, and this can be flowering evergreens like your rhododendrons and azaleas, or your flowering deciduous plants like your weigelia and your lilacs, this is a great rule of thumb to follow when it comes to pruning. Always prune within 6 to 8 weeks after they're done blooming. Now, you can do it before that as quickly as when the flower doesn't look nice any longer, but no more than 8 weeks out. And you want to do that just because if you wait too long, then you forget. And then you could get into that time frame where there is bud formation for the flower for the following year. So many people come to me every year and they're saying, my rhododendrons and azaleas haven't bloomed and I don't know why. And when I ask, when did you prune last? They said, well, we pruned in the fall. We always prune all of our shrubbery in the fall. And they have pruned off all their flower bud for the spring by fall time. So also, if you have a landscaper doing your pruning, when he does your fall cleanup, don't let him prune your shrubbery. Hopefully, if you are hiring someone and having it paid to have these things done, they know not to do these things. Unfortunately, anyone with a pickup truck and a lawnmower sometimes thinks they're a landscaper, and they don't know anything about shrubbery or the health thereof. So you want to make sure that your landscaper, or you, if you're doing it yourself, knows when is ideal to prune your plants. So it's not going to be the same. You can't have your landscaper wants to come in and prune once a year for you. That's not what your plants need. And that can be an issue, because then you have to pay them twice, to do it, to come in and do your trimming. But you want your rhododendrons and azaleas trimmed, late spring, and you want your weigelia to be pruned early fall, because of how they bloom. And so don't let your landscaper, because he's busy, say, oh, I want to do it all at one time. That's not always going to be ideal for your plant material. And if you are doing your own pruning and you have questions, please stop out. I will take some time to show you the plant material. We might not have every plant you have in your landscape, but if you have Weigelia, we always have one variety of Weigelia in, and I can show you where to prune at and when to prune, and we can go into those things. So these are questions that you might want to ask before you just start trimming. And ladies, if your husband is doing it for you, this is one of those times that you need to tell him, if he doesn't know, ask the question, because it's going to be very, very important. That question that I'm always telling you, that so many people have their hydrangeas and they don't know why they're not blooming. And they cut them all the way back every single year. Well, that's why your plant isn't blooming, because they don't need to be cut back all the way every single year. And you just need to know when, and you're going to find things are doing much better for you. Well, we have a lot of things at our store that a lot of other places doesn't have, and a lot of people don't know that we do have. So we want to go over some of those things, and then if you have questions about those, because you might have some of these things in your gardens or in your landscapes or in your orchards, and you don't know of anybody that carries them, so you don't know who to ask your questions to. And we have in stock and carry them most all of the time several odd things like multiple berry bushes, like blueberries and raspberries in black, red, and yellow. We have strawberries. We have blackberries, elderberries, boysenberries, currants, and grapes. And all of those things need to be trimmed at the right time as well. So we can go over all of these berry issues, tell you how to fertilize them so that you have your best fruit production. That's very, very important. And also several fruit trees. We carry several different cherry trees, peach trees, pear trees, plum trees, apple trees, apricot trees, as well as fig trees. And yes, of course, lemon and lime trees. And we even have some grapefruit trees still in. Tangerines are all sold out right now. But if you have always wanted to have a lemon tree that does produce lemons, we have those in stock right now. And they are just beautiful little trees, getting ready to start blooming. And then you will be harvesting in the wintertime. When you have that beautiful tree inside your house and it's covered in lemons, there's not a whole lot of things that are more rewarding than that. And so all of those things are available at the store, and we have them all ready for you. And the ability to teach you and tell you how to plant them, how to take care of them, and how to have your best harvest. So we wanted to let you know of that. We also have some beautiful hanging baskets still, and a very nice selection of landscape plants. If you're not to all the edibles like we were talking about so many times here, we do have landscape plants and have them to beautify your home. A lot of people are doing edible landscapes right now, but there is a lot of you that still are not doing that. So we have things to accommodate you as well. Well, we've been talking about wet areas, and we again had another question about plants to put in wet areas. And this year, a lot of people are dealing with wet areas. And of course, we don't grow cranberries here in our area, which I think this year we probably could. But if you are dealing with a wet area, there are some plants that do very well, and they just don't just do well in those areas, but they also help correct the area from being so wet because they use a lot of moisture. And those are the things in the willow family. And a lot of people will say, well, I don't want to plant a willow tree because their root systems they're going to get in my water lines, and they're going to get in our septic lines, and we're going to have all kinds of issues. Well, that is true if you're planting large willow trees. But some of the smaller willow shrubs and small willow trees, like the dappled Japanese willow in the tree form and in the shrub form, they don't have terribly aggressive root systems, but they still do use up a lot of water. So if you have a wet area, these are great plants to plant because they don't just survive and thrive in it, they're also going to use up so much water that in an area that's close by that might have been wet in the past, the water is pulled from that to the plant, and that area is not wet any longer, and you could plant something else there. So using these things to your advantage to dry up certain areas and use them in the wettest area, a lot of times is very good. So if you have an area like this and you have questions if the willow might work for you, taking some photos of that area and then bringing it into you, we can actually work with you and try to help you get these wet areas dealt with. With so many new housing developments coming in, we notice that water doesn't always have a place to go, and it ends up in one person's backyard, and they're dealing with moisture, in the springtime and in the fall. And the only time that they are having, a dry backyard or an area of their backyard that is always dry is only like for maybe 2 months out of the summer. And nothing lives well back there. It's hard to mow, so they don't want to have to deal with that. So they try to make it a bed, and then plant material doesn't do well there. So if you have one of these areas, and it seems like more and more people are dealing with this as time goes on, get those pictures taken and bring those in, and we will help you. There's some other plants that do well in those areas as well. Hibiscus do well in wet areas. And there are some other perennials and ground covers that will handle some moisture, and that's why using some of the plant material that really, really sucks up the water, you can use some of the other ones in the other areas that just stay damp for short periods of time then, and things are going to work out well for you. Well, if you have questions, don't forget you can always give us a call at 330-455-5997. Or you can email me at Cindy Petitti, CindyPetitti @gmail.com. You can come into the store at 5828 Columbus Road, right there on the corner of Columbus Road and Broadway, and bring us your questions. We do ask that if you bring a insect or a diseased plant to us to look at, if it's small enough that you can put it into a Ziploc bag so that we can see it without spores coming out, you can go ahead and bring it into the store. But if it is too large for that, please leave it in your car, and we will come out and look at it in your car. That way we don't spread the disease to anything at our place, and we would really, really appreciate that. Well, here we are at June 1st, and don't forget, farmers markets have started. The Plain Township Farmers Market is every Wednesday night from 4 till 7, and the Canton Farmers Market starts in 2 weeks from today. I believe Alliance is at the same day. I will be at the Canton Farmers Market on June 15th, answering questions and helping you with gardening issues. So please come down there and see me and visit me. We want to thank you all for being here with us every Saturday morning at 8 a.m. And we will be back right here next Saturday morning at 8 a.m. right here on the Light 95.9. Have a blessed week.